In this content analysis, I'm examining the ways in which Game of Thrones characters Arya Stark and Cersei Lannister fit the criteria for an anti-heroine, as defined by Professor Molly Brost in the Advanced TV Her Story podcast. I will be using the first 4 episodes of Season 8. According to Professor Brost, anti-heroines share a set of 4 predictable criteria. These criteria are: 1. Their actions are not always morally upright. They behave unconventionally, sometimes immorally, and go against status quo. This can mean they have affairs or casual sex, or they defy gender norms, for example. 2. They have experienced trauma. They tend to have a troubled past, family issues, or be survivors of violence, sexual or otherwise. 3. They have mental health issues. These issues are not always explicitly defined. They are sometimes overt, but more often are diagnosable by viewers or critics via the armchair. 4. They are often described or perceived as unlikable. They have freed themselves socially and sometimes physically from society's standards of what is a likable woman. Beginning with Arya in Episode 1, she fits criteria 1, 2, and 4. She fits criteria 1 by being playful, challenging, and flirtatious with Gendry. She wants a weapon, which is not normally appropriate for a woman of her age and birth, and she's also being flirtatious with a man below her rank.
What do you need something like this for?
Can you make it or not?
You already have a sword. What's that? It's Valyrian steel. I always knew you were just another rich girl.
You don't know any other rich girls.
She fits criteria 2 because we are reminded that Arya is the only Stark sibling who was close with Jon Snow. Other members of her family rejected him for being a bastard. She has also a troubled past with her sister, but respects her sister as smart.
Sansa thinks she's smarter than everyone.
She's the smartest person I've ever met.
Well, you're defending her. You.
I'm defending our family. So is she.
She fits criteria 4, as we are reminded that to some she is a controversial and unlikable character. The Hound calls her a cold little bitch when he sees her. He also says that's why she is still alive. Cersei in Episode 1 fits criteria 1, 2, and 4 also. She fits criteria 1 when she is shown sleeping with Euron Greyjoy. She has essentially traded herself in exchange for his support against her enemies. She fits criteria 2 when we are reminded that A, she is pregnant with her brother/lover's child, and B, she also conspires to kill both her brothers, who she believes betrayed her. Criteria 4 is fulfilled when we are privy to a conversation between Cersei's brother Tyrion and Sansa Stark. Tyrion believed his sister made a promise to support them, but Sansa calls him a fool.
I used to think you were the cleverest man alive.
Sansa implies that Cersei is a liar and is not to be believed. Liars are generally unlikable. In Episode 2, Arya fulfills criteria 1 and 2. She again falls into criteria 1 by defying gender norms and challenging the men around her. She throws knives to illustrate her skill to Gendry.
I know death. He's got many faces. I look forward to seeing this one.
She also sleeps with Gendry and remains dominant sexually throughout that scene. She falls into criteria 2 when she discusses her lack of fear of the White Walkers. This lack of fear reveals the stages of trauma and growth that have turned her into a warrior.
What are they like?
Bad. Really bad.
Really bad. Even a Smith's apprentice can do better than really bad. What do they look like? What do they smell like? How do they move? How hard are they to kill?
In Episode 2, Cersei falls into criteria 2, 3, and 4. For criteria 2, we are again reminded of her family dysfunction, her pregnancy by her brother, and her wish to murder both of her brothers.
At least Cersei won't get to murder me. I'm sure I'll feel some satisfaction denying her that pleasure. while I'm being ripped apart by dead men?
Criteria 3 is fulfilled when Cersei's brother Jaime and brother Tyrion are discussing her. This conversation between them infers she's a sociopath. Criteria 4 is fulfilled in the same conversation, which ends with Tyrion telling Jaime that he always knew what she was and loved her anyway.
She's always been good at using the truth to tell lies. You can be too hard on yourself. She's fooled me more than anybody. What?
She never fooled you. You always knew exactly what she was. You loved her anyway.
What she is, it is implied, is deeply unlikable. In episode 3, we are only shown Arya, but she fits squarely into the anti-heroine category. She maintains her warrior status and is the unlikely person to kill the Night King, who is the greatest enemy outside of Cersei Lannister. Thereby, she squarely fulfills criteria 1. She defies gender norms and does not act as a lady is expected to. Whereas in episode 4, the focus is again on Cersei. In it, she fulfills all the criteria. For criteria 1, her fearlessness is displayed, which is a very masculine quality within the context of the show. She's not afraid of Daenerys Targaryen, and we are reminded that she really can't be intimidated.
She's coming for you.
Of course she is. Keep the gates open. If she wants to take the castle, she'll have to murder thousands of innocent people first. So much for the breaker of chains.
She is comfortable being in control and flaunting it. She's so comfortable that she openly displays her sexual and political control over Euron Greyjoy, who seems to enjoy it. Criteria 2 comes up as Tyrion desperately tries to appeal to Cersei's humanity by reminding her of her love for her children. It doesn't work, however, because her history with him and her overwhelming desire to maintain power for her baby trumps his pleas. Which leads us to criteria 3. It has been alluded to previously that there is something wrong with Cersei, that she is cruel, basically, some kind of sociopath. That is shown by her willingness to use civilians as human shields in the context of war. Finally, she kills Missandei, which she frankly didn't have to do, just to give the finger to her enemies and basically make them mad. They do not like her. Most people don't. Hence, criteria 4 is once again fulfilled. In her essay on female characters and likability, entitled Not Here to Make Friends, author Roxane Gay has this to say: "An unlikable man is inscrutably interesting, dark, or tormented, but ultimately compelling even when he might behave in distasteful ways. This is what is so rarely said about unlikable women in fiction, that they aren't pretending, that they won't or can't pretend to be someone they are not. They have neither the energy for it nor the desire." Rachel Andrews, in her article The Plight of the Female Anti-Hero, compares the motivations of male characters like Breaking Bad's Walter White to Cersei Lannister. Andrews begs the question when comparing male and female anti-heroes. Why are Walter White's morally reprehensible actions more justifiable than, say, those of Cersei Lannister, whose motivations are also rooted in the protection of her family? In this final season of Game of Thrones, Cersei Lannister, once widely villainized, has been the subject of numerous sympathetic character analyses in various publications that seem to be viewing her through a similar lens as Brost's Anti-Heroines. Jenna Kalishman of the film era quotes actress Lena Headey in an interview for Mashable saying, "I don't play Cersei as a villain. I don't set out to do that consciously. I just play a woman who is a survivor and will do exactly what a man would do, which is, murder somebody when you're in a war, maybe just not directly." Kalishman asserts that Cersei is violent because she is damaged, a victim of an abusive patriarchy of which she is a survivor. Adam Gopnik of The New Yorker observes that Cersei feels happy to be herself, and together the two emotions, smugness and sinister amusement, make for one formidable Twitter gif and woman. In the same vein, Jeva Lang of The Week says Arya Stark does become a killer, but her initiation comes from the trauma of repeated violence and loss. Rolling Stone's Alan Sepinwall says of Arya, "If ever Game of Thrones had a character built to save the world twice in short order and excite the fan base by doing so, it's Arya Stark."